Quack. Quack. A quack. Quack, 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 quack. Welcome. Whoa! I am your host, Adam Jameo.
And I'm Aaron.
Oh, that's right. Aaron and Adam Jameo. Once again, the Quack 12 podcast, the most official, unofficial Oregon Ducks podcast on the web, Footosphere. And Aaron, let's not waste any time. We got a very, very, very special guest for Hate Fortnight. Right. That is right. Gabey Lucas, how is it going, Gabey? It's been forever.
You're so fancy. You called it a Fortnight.
Yeah, that's right. We're very fancy.
I thought she was
from saying X. It's Twitter. Fuck Elon.
I
can't
know,
get away
right?
with it. Change it. Put it back in.
I'm doing it right now.
Thank you.
So you're not here to talk about the game Fortnite?
Is Fortnite overrated?
Ooh,
no, I've
shots fired.
Never played. No, I was doing
it's
like that meme of there's like 11-year-old kids having a serious discussion on YouTube entitled "Is Fortnite overrated?" I've never played Fortnite.
It's deep.
I don't know.
Neither have I.
That's our discussion. It's target demographic of 10-year-olds in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
We have but a fortnight before the battle begins in Seattle. What could be the biggest Oregon-Washington game ever? In what could be the craziest Pac-12 or Pac conference season ever. Gabey, we haven't talked to you since the truly bonkers fucking news of Oregon and Washington joining the Big Ten. Let's just start. Yeah, what do you think of this? What have you heard the news? What are your thoughts?
Wait, have we not? I don't want to talk about it. I'm so exhausted, man. I don't know how you guys are about this, but like for me, by the way, anyone watching this who's like, why is this bitch wearing a like sailor style bucket hat inside? My hair's greasy. I haven't washed in 4 days. Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
cool.
You just lived in Seattle.
My roof is leaking. You kid, but my parents' roof leaks every time it rains for more than 4 days straight. What were we talking about? Oh no, I don't know how it was for you guys, but I'm like everybody's like Pac-12 friend, which is tragic. And so I got like 20 texts in the like week after that being like, so what do you think on the Pac-12? Oh my God, what's your take? And I'm like, I need you to shut up. Like I literally just started telling people, I'm like, I've been forced to talk about this nonstop for a year. I'm sorry. I'm not answering that question.
Fair enough.
and
let me ask you a different question.
What do you think about
Indiana?
Do
you believe now comes the time that we should squash whatever rivalry there is and band together to take over the
Big Ten,
whatever it's called, Big Ten?
Yeah. The corn people.
Because I think if we work together behind the scenes, we could theoretically control outcomes of games to elicit better outcomes for each other.
I don't think the prisoner's dilemma, like, I don't think Oregon and UW could hold up in that situation. But that being said, like, I definitely, don't get me wrong, I still hate all your Florida-ass fans who've never been to Oregon. But, like, and your stupid Nike Heisman campaign.
Hey, money's money. Money's just money.
But your Nike money that tried and failed to buy the governorship, by the way.
Hey,
he's
Microsoft,
a good guy.
Microsoft. Hey.
That's why we have a bobblehead of him.
But I definitely like now have a more visceral level of hatred for USC and UCLA that is like existential in a way.
Wow.
That I don't like. I still hate Oregon. Obviously, I'm not a monster, but like Oregon and UW didn't like. It's not our fault that this place no longer exists. So
exactly, it's Colorado.
So, like the catalyst behind it. I'm like, so you say screw all y'all.
Okay, so you say rivalry's still on.
Rivalry's still on, but I'm like, yeah, I would. And I will want you guys to fail, but like I will have less of a. No, it's not that I want you guys to fail less. It's that I now want UCLA and USC to fail more than I used to. Because I think part of it also is like I don't know how you guys feel, but like growing up with Pete Carroll USC, like I never really could hate them the way that people who were like the baby boomer UW, and I assume baby boomer Oregon people like really hated USC, although maybe not, because USC and UW were like really good at the same time, and so that's like where that comes from. But I mean, I was like, Pete Carroll USC was always kind of cool. Like I got it when Max Brown went to USC instead of UW. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, fuck those guys.
Yeah, I definitely hate them more. I am thinking, like, in my heart, can I like completely cut out Oregon State as if they are dead? Like nothing's there anymore.
No, I'll never be able to cut out Oregon State and Wazoo. Which, by the way, screw you, game day. Up yours, Pat McAfee.
Oh, that is bullshit. I mean, obviously those two were the little darlings. It's unfortunate, and I like calling them little because it's belittling. It's unfortunate they had to play in the first week of Pac-12 play.
I
know. God damn. Now one of them has a loss already. Because I'm still rooting for them, and even honestly, if Oregon State beat us at the end of the year, I would hate every single minute of it, and it would just completely destroy me inside. Like, let's say we didn't get to the championship game because of it or something. But I would love if fucking Oregon State made it, or Wazoo.
Nope.
Like, it'd be the most fitting for the Pac-12 to end with one
here's
of them.
where we differ. I want you guys. I want Oregon State to win everything forever except for us, but the fact that Wazoo and Oregon State got screwed still doesn't, for me, it still doesn't change my lifelong experience with Wazoo, which is not positive. And and as much as I am on their side in this whole bullshit and the existential battle that they're in, and how much they've been belittled and taken down by these douchebags at ESPN, and the fact that neither of these teams have been invited to a Power 5 yet is absurd.
Yeah.
That still doesn't erase almost 30 years of genuine grievances I have against many trends of the Coug population as a people. There's certain qualities to them that I admire, but there's a lot of the opposite as well that I think they get away with because they're like, the fun underdogs. But not in real life, you're not. All your parents own construction companies, and you wear a Reagan Bush 84 shirt. Think your country because you went to Pullman, but you're from Kirkland.
Play them in the future. In the future,
What's that?
if you're not playing them, would you be bummed about that, or would you be like, good riddance?
No, the Apple Cup is the Apple Cup. Before I knew what Oregon was as a concept, I knew what the Apple Cup was. Like, I hate you guys more, but the Apple Cup matters more.
What's going on? Are you guys seeing?
No. And the other thing, and this is with any school and any rivalry that's the bigger, more flagship of the two, whether that's Oregon, OSU, UW, Wazoo, Michigan State, whatever the hell, USC, UCLA, Cal, pick one.
Yeah.
Any of the bigger of those two teams, fan bases, any fans who were like, it's not a real rivalry, we don't even think of you. You're so lying. You're so going out of your way to point that out so hard that it so clearly is. Just get over, stop it. That's how I feel. Any UW fan who has the arrogance to pretend that we don't need to, which I think that is by far the vast majority are not in that group, and I assume it's the same with Oregon, although maybe not, because again, Florida fans. But,
it's getting weird with the Oregon State rivalry because Oregon State's really into the idea that Oregon is the one that fucked them over.
Yeah.
Same with Wazoo, and it's just not the case.
I actually don't think of Oregon State. I don't know what that means for anything. I don't even. I
literally
am right,
Texas,
Oregon State,
and you're not an Oregon fan.
Yeah, you barely think of college football.
I mean, that's true. I barely
think about
college
you think
football.
about movie theater pickles more than you think about college football.
That is true. And you're a borderline Husky fan. I've been saying this for a while.
That'd be like if I went up to some
No,
random Estonian and was like, "What do you think about Oregon State?" And they're like, "What's that?" And I was like, "You know, a beaver?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think I know what that is."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this season so far, this is the most hyped Oregon-Washington game I think there's ever been, where it's like usually one of us sucks shit when we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
For decades and decades and decades, it was us. For like a decade, it was you. And now both these teams clearly don't suck shit anyways. They're clearly pretty good. And
That sounds... Sorry, can we make that the official? Like, I want a really dramatic, like, fade in intro of like Oregon, like promo, Oregon, Washington. Both these teams don't suck shit.
Right now, I'm writing that right now. This will be in the episode. It'll take me a little while, but it'll be very like bad. But,
Christopher Nolan trailer style.
Bwah, bwah.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Teams
That'll be good.
don't suck shit.
Which is
Okay, sorry,
which is
continue.
historic.
I
It's as
interrupted
historic
you.
as Oppenheimer, some would say.
Mm-hmm.
And
Boo.
how do you? So, what's the level of fear you got going into the? Are you trying to just disassociate with it? Or are you being like, we're about to kick their fucking asses? Or what's your gut feeling right now? Like,
I think if I'm like both teams, I'm oddly confident and oddly apprehensive at the same time. Ironically, the thing is that like Arizona last week showed the blueprint of like how you can beat UW's offense, but like the only teams that are going to follow that blueprint are teams that are not Oregon and USC, because you guys also have like quite potent offenses. So we know Dan Lanning and Lincoln Riley well enough to know that they're not going to be like, yeah, let's slow the game down and minimize possessions.
yeah.
So like ironically, the game plans that teams like Oregon and USC, who like talent wise and offensive potency wise have the best chance of beating UW, like and vice versa, like in that whole triangle, they're like disincentivized from their own strengths from doing the blueprint that's most likely to beat UW. So I think it's a pretty interesting dynamic. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be fun regardless.
I think I'm pretty excited. I do think it's going to be like a really good game. I think it could go completely either way. And the result of the game, this sounds like I know we're going to lose and I'm trying to give us a backdoor, but like it could be either team. And the result of the game won't even tell you like who the best team is. It feels like it truly is just individual plays. Like, oh, this guy just was barely open enough that he, that was the game-winning score. Or one team had a great first quarter, the other team started a little slow, and that was the deciding factor. Like, I'm pretty hyped for this game, and it's going to be soul-crushing for one fan base, and that kind of gets me excited.
Yeah, I agree.
What is y'all's injury report right now? Are y'all pretty strong with first defense?
So Jalen McMillan sat out Arizona, but I think that's likely not. I think that felt more precautionary than anything. Rome was a little bit banged up on that onside kick actually, but it's also another thing that like who knows what it is. Tuli Latuli-Gasanoa was out also Saturday. And Kalen DeBoer has been like, yeah, he'll play. But like he's said that sometimes when it's been false. And that would be a pretty big guy to miss because for as much as our secondary has actually improved, like the defensive line has been pretty hit or miss in the pass rush. And so especially for like collapsing a pocket, you need those dudes. And so
and I guess they've got that extra week too. I always forget that we're both on a bye week. I always forget that.
Which is odd. Like I'm so glad it worked out that way too.
Same.
I want our best players on the field.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. For Oregon, like Kyrie Jackson looked like he was taken out of last game, and he's been like our best cornerback, so that would be devastating. But I imagine with the bye week and this, I think we're getting a couple players back, like maybe Justin Jacobs, maybe Nishad Strother played for a bit. So I think we're being pretty close to 100%, which is what you want. Like, you want, like, no excuses.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you want to
legit-
win
Yeah.
the game. Like, we did it. Boom. Ours.
Yeah.
And it's also cool that they changed it so it's like it's not the North and the South go to the championship game. It's like these teams could meet up again in the championship game.
I always, that honestly, that thought always has, I forget about that habitually now. So
It's
I
pretty
literally
recent,
didn't
yeah.
think about that until this moment. That would be kind of wild. Although
Question.
Yeah.
Or like Washington Wazoo or Oregon State. Like those could be in the championship
that would be
game.
psychotic, but like
Oh
in
my
a kind of a
God.
good way.
Yeah.
How
Like,
how is y'all's penalty game going this season so far? Are y'all racking them
Not
up?
great.
Yeah.
yeah. ours
I feel like
either.
it's gonna be a penalty game where we're all just like, God Almighty,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, I mean they're in Husky Stadium at least, so like we're sitting back. Like, I'm
it's
trying to
definitely
convince Aaron to
something-
go too. I'm trying to convince Aaron to go.
I think
I might go.
I want to go, but obviously, I want to go, but I also need to. Don't have a lot of money right now. You
How
should
much
get
are
your
tickets?
fans to pay for me to come, huh?
How much are
They're
tickets?
pretty expensive,
It's a big
Really?
and I need to.
Listeners-
I'm like on my cash flow situation. It isn't great, and my
it.
and also I'm going to Edinburgh to do the Fringe next year for. a
Oh,
month,
hell yeah.
So I have
That's
to save
awesome.
up for that.
What is the fridge?
The Fringe.
Fringe.
What is this?
How are
What
you
is
a
this?
recording artist and you don't know what the Fringe is?
Dude, you gotta check
Recording. Sorry, that came off as like way more bitchy than it was supposed
it out.
to.
Burn.
My
Hey, it's
foot's-
hate
my
week.
foot's falling asleep.
You're allowed to
it's
say
the
anything
it's
to
the
Aaron
biggest
you want.
it's the biggest performing arts festival in the world. It's where like the Mighty Boosh came from, Fleabag, Rasheen Kennedy, Mark Watson, John Oliver, like everybody who you've ever heard of who's done even a little bit of work in Britain or not.
It's big enough too. Where a
It
bunch of,
happens
like,
in Britain?
It happens in
'cause it's
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
I for some reason in my brain I thought you were going to that place in Washington. What am I thinking of?
I have no idea what you're thinking of.
Fuck. It's where the
Seattle?
giant hole to hell is.
What?
Ellensburg.
Seattle. Oh.
You
Oh.
said and I thought Ellensburg.
Ellensburg Fringe. Oh,
I was
God.
I was like,
With all due respect to Ellensburg, that sounds awful. I will
sounds
give
like
Ellensburg credit.
Sounds like
the
the wrong
area,
kind of fringe.
yeah, the Ellensburg Fringe. That's assless chaps, my man.
Yeah, baby.
I know. I will give Ellensburg credit for being in a very pretty area. Period.
So
Okay.
I just
Anyway,
want to
so
say,
people should buy me tickets to Oregon, please.
yeah,
Mhm.
listeners, if you give us enough money, we'll get Aaron and Gabey there. They'll go together.
Wait, that would be fun.
Exactly.
What a-
Pay
Hey.
for it.
You know what? It's as if there was like if only there was a way that people could donate $5 to the cause to get me and Gaby 2 tickets. I don't know. Maybe go to the Patreon, subscribe.
That's right. If we
for
get
$5 a month. Thank you,
If-
Gaby, for hooking
what
us
would
up
it-
with this
what
great
would it
idea
be?
to plug our own shit.
for 40 new, if we get 40 new patrons this week, then we will send both.
I'll
of
go
them.
to the football game.
That probably still won't be enough money, but I'll cover the rest if we get 40 new patrons.
Wait, I've never been so hopeful for charity in my life.
Last time Aaron and I
Hope I'm poor.
were at saw a Husky game, was that one where Braxton Burmeister started. And
Oh,
we got
I'm
our
sorry
asses
for
kicked
you.
like 33-3.
Yeah, I
And
think
it
you had
was-
3 points.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Tevis Bartlett beat the crap out of him at one point.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Boy.
It was a rough one, and it was raining like hell.
That was the only part that
bonkers.
bugged me about it. I had a great time outside of it just being so wet.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, because I remember that being a thing. Because for the first like half, I remember seeing Oregon fans on Twitter being like, "If it wasn't raining, he could throw," and then the second half being like, "Just kidding."
There's Braxton Burmeister stands out there. That's amazing.
I mean, it was
No,
maybe
yeah.
the first quarter,
Yeah.
quarter.
it was.
For whatever reason, I do like
close-ish.
that kid.
Oh sure.
I
why
just
not?
I get worried whenever anyone names their child Braxton because I'm like, you're naming your child after premature labor. Stop it.
Braxton Burmeister sounds like he should
Is
be
that
a
what that
third
is?
or something.
That's what
Braxton
that-
Hicks is yeah. It's like when you get contractions when you're pregnant, but like aren't quite ready to have your baby. Yeah.
Huh,
Oh, he's
yeah.
a receiver for the Rams now.
Yes, that's awesome. I mean, he's
Look
probably
at that.
not seen the field in it.
Braxton
He did it.
Burmeister?
I assume he's on like the scout team or scout team,
Yeah.
the practice squad. Sorry, continue.
Which is
Not to-
ridiculous because there was times where we needed a receiver where I think he maybe should have switched up because I saw him
That's
at QB.
funny. That's
To the
funny.
Davis Mills.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
One player I cannot hate, Michael Penix, is fucking cool.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome.
I like Michael Penix a lot. He's just fun to watch. I like that he's pretty calm back there, and just the mentality of just like, oh, I'm just gonna bomb this downfield. Like literally, like when I'm playing like NCAA 14 or whatever. Like he plays with that mentality. It's fucking cool, honestly. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. Probably my favorite Husky quarterback of all time.
I do have to, yeah, he does seem to me like our version of, as far as like quarterback who you're like, fuck, I can't hate him. Like I have to imagine he's your version of what Marcus Mariota was for us. Because like you can't hate Mariota. Like it's just not, you can't do it.
You
and like
hate what
same
he
thing, I
did to
can't
your
imagine.
team, but
Huh?
You can hate what he did to your team, but like him,
he was like firebombing us. But I'm like, you're still freaking awesome. Like I can't imagine hating Michael Penix, no matter what team you're a fan of, because he's just like super fun, super cool, super chill.
Is he a runner as well, or is he just a deep dive?
Less so. He ran a lot at Indiana just because his offensive line was like it was like if he had 5 me's blocking for him, and so by necessity, he definitely does not run that much if given the pocket, which he has generally speaking. But he also is like definitely he is quite mobile, but by choice he doesn't tend to pursue that route very often.
Interesting. Is that a coaching thing or is that a him thing?
No, it's just he's really smart and has a really good arm, so he doesn't really need to very often. He's like, why would I run when I can throw it there and get 30 yards instead of 7?
So then the offensive line then must be able to give him a lot of time as well.
Yeah.
Is that what we're hearing? God damn.
I love Aaron. Aaron should do all college football previews for every single media outlet.
This has never happened. I love this. Take the reins, Aaron.
Well, I'm just thinking about it. I'm trying to learn just learning.
Well, because you know like basic concepts, but you aren't a freaking obsessed person. Like you touch grass instead of sitting inside all day from like 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Hawaii, like with the Hawaii game. And so you don't like know everything about every team, but you're like, yeah, this makes sense.
It's almost like he has the vibe of, I don't give a shit about this.
I don't give a shit, but you're going to tell me.
He's got that vibe.
I don't need to pay attention to it until I need to pay attention to it. That's all.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's how I feel about college basketball. So
sure.
Yeah, I've definitely been watching less college football than I have like literally my entire life, except for maybe the first year I lived in Canada. Yeah.
Is that what they call West Seattle these days? Canada?
little
you kid, but like Alki reminds me of Vancouver.
For real.
Gabey, we need to avoid talking about this actual game by talking about your future dates in Seattle here. All these wonderful
we're like done talking about okay.
I mean, I was hoping I was gonna do this offer, but we want you, if you want to come back next week, we can just do this exact thing again. We'd love to have you again.
We can talk real X's and O's.
Or
I mean, I'm okay with that.
None of it. Yeah. I mean, is there anything you're dying to get off your chest 2 weeks away from this big
2
game?
weeks away? Not really.
Yeah, I know.
What's on the coaching staff that upsets you that you would like to see a little bit more transparency or fluidity?
We want fire.
Yeah.
We still have, by the way, in our UWDP writers Slack group, we still have a Slack bot. Whenever someone says the words play calling, Slack bot says hashtag fire Smith just to make fun of all the people for years and years who fire Jonathan Smith. And I'm really feeling vindicated about that because I'm the one who made it do that.
I like this play call the other day where we went like this.
I know, and then he apologized for it, but it's like, no, baby, literally nobody was offended. We all loved it, and we all love you.
Yeah.
Keep being awesome.
Exactly. Honestly, it'd be cool if he, after the apology, did it again.
Yeah. Yes.
That would be cool.
That's
yeah,
what
Aaron, you don't know. He was saying milk
Nope.
the clock this last game against Utah, and the signal for that apparently is.
milk the
Milk it.
clock.
And so we got this great GIF now that will live
Oh, I
forever
love him.
of him just.
Well, I get it.
everyone
think
gets
it's
it. That's the thing.
There's another spot he could have gone that would have been way worse. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Like
Milk
this.
it. That'd be cool if he switched to that motion. Listeners, you won't be able
So
to
much
see what
worse.
we're doing. If you want to see exactly what we're doing, come over to the Quack 12 YouTube.
Jesus Christ.
You're the one that brought it up.
I love it. I think that's great. It sounds like everybody's just having a good time this season.
Yeah,
So-
man.
Has it ever been scary? Have you had any moments in the games so far where you're like, holy shit, that was closer than it should have been, or
Like injury wise or
anything,
Or, like,
just outcome?
anything? Well, the first two drives against the first two drives in the first game against Boise was a 3-and-out punt and then like a 6-and-out or whatever punt. And so then everyone was freaking out, and then we destroyed them like 52-13 or something. So
Mhm.
that ended up good. But similarly, the opposite of that was like against Arizona, because Arizona, playing in Arizona for Washington is cursed. I don't know about
Yeah.
how it is for you guys.
Yes.
And then B, Arizona, Jed Fish, full credit to him, like actually had a really good game plan.
Mhm.
And then the third part of that is that UW just played super sloppy offensively. So we were like comfortably the better team and leading for pretty much the whole game. And then Arizona scores with like a minute and a half. And now it's a 1-score game, and then they onside kick it. And
Right.
everybody's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
But it all worked out.
I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely was sweating when we were down 6-0 to Stanford in the second quarter. Like I was.
I
definitely
wasn't.
Like,
I was
oh
like, we're so
my
off
God.
schedule, but
We
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's a Duck fan too. Diehard Duck fan.
okay. I think that's great. So really, it's just kind of been cushy nug-nugs the whole season so far. I love it.
Would you say it's been cushy nug-nugs?
Yeah,
Nug-nugs.
yeah.
I love that you
Cushy
kicked the
nugs.
shit out of Michigan State. That was a wonderful week to do it.
That was
On
very
the road.
satisfying. Although, and it was better than like last year. They backdoor covered, I'm pretty sure, because
Mhm.
I mean, I only watched like the first half and maybe quarter, half a
Fair
quarter.
enough.
Last year. This year I
Oh,
watched
last
the whole
year.
thing. Last year because I was in Ottawa, and then it was my friend's birthday, and so we went out for a drag show. and then I'm just seeing the updates on my phone, being like, "Wow, Michigan State's really coming back," kind of.
No.
But same thing with like Cal, with like Cal this year, where like any box score watchers wouldn't know
Yeah.
like how much we beat just kick the absolute shit out of them, like right in the throat, because we had Dylan Morrison, I think, by the second drive of the second half, and then had our literal walk-ons on by the end of the game when Cal like finally was able to score.
Duck fans are
so-
just circling the 500 yards and being like, "See, this is how we can beat them. They did 500 yards.
Yeah.
We just got to
Yeah.
do this." It really feels like throw away all the games, like all those first 5 games for both teams, because it doesn't fucking matter. What's gonna matter is what happens in Seattle. Like, but for 2 weeks, we're gonna hear people talk about these supposed weaknesses, and there's some serious, actual weaknesses in these teams.
Yeah.
But they're both going to score a shit ton of points. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
What would you guys describe like defensively as your biggest weakness? Because I've already mentioned it, that like I actually feel a lot better about our secondary, albeit like I also recognize that like your guys' offense is far better than anything we played. So I'm like, I know in that battle, like we're gonna come out on bottom. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna lose that a lot more than normal.
I am kind of concerned
But the
about.
line-
I'm kind of concerned about us covering your.
Well, yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
like I don't know that we're gonna be able to keep up for a long time.
It's not really. Yeah, I feel better about this defense than I have in a really long freaking time. And so I don't really feel too much about like, here's the organ weakness. It's just like, we may not be able to cover that unstoppable move that you guys have over and over, where he places
of having 3 potential first round receivers.
Exactly. Where it's just like, I don't even think there's a weak link in our secondary, but it's just like, they may not be able to cover the perfect pass. And that may happen enough times
This is the part in the conversation where the character that I play steps in and says, you know, it's really about who gets tired first in this game, guys.
Shit, this is a character you've been playing? I'm gonna meet the real Aaron.
He's playing a fictional version of himself.
Yeah, the real Aaron actually knows a lot of his shit. He does a lot of research beforehand.
He's from
He can
Texas,
tell you up and down the roster for Oregon, Washington, but not the character.
Surprise, surprise, everybody. I am Hythloday.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Gabey, we're going to kick you off.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful talking to you, but not before we get through all the plugs, because whenever you're on...
Plugs because...
That you're usually... These are usually the most watched and listened to episodes, period. Which is sad for us, but good for you, maybe.
That's depressing.
So we probably have some Seattleites watching this right now. Probably
4?
furious.
5?
Maybe, probably under.
Fewer.
Honestly. Looking at the numbers, probably fewer. But that's probably half of our audience for this thing. So let's get through all these shows here. The one I'm most excited about, because the one that I would actually be going to, I think, if I was in Seattle. I'm not a
you'd
Kraken
actually
fan.
be going.
I would actually be going, even. I would actually pay money for one of these tickets.
This motherfucker goes out
reasonably
all the
priced.
time.
I go out. I'm in the club.
He goes out.
I would be a Kraken fan if I lived in Seattle. But
Well, you just can't be. Like, we don't, just as you guys have accepted your Floridian Duck fan brethren, we will accept our Oregonian Kraken fan. Because, like, we're PNW.
I love the idea of the Kraken.
And you used to live in Seattle.
I used to live in Seattle.
I'm
a Seahawks fan still.
He hates
Huge
every
Seahawks
aspect
fan.
of it.
Not every aspect.
Well, there we go. Go on.
At the Angry Beaver. We don't like that, obviously. Is on.
Do you not like the Angry?
Podcast.
Oh, because of
I don't
OSU.
like beavers.
Just think of it as a Canadian beaver.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Hat Tricks, a post-game comedy show at the Angry Beaver in Greenwood. I believe you are fully running this bad boy. Can you tell us about it?
Sounds great. I'll be there.
I'm just gonna cough all over everyone for an hour. No, it's just why did I lose my voice all of a sudden? It's just a stand-up series that we're doing for. I'm producing it for them, where pretty much they're like Seattle's first and really only, like, they're like a devoted like hockey bar / like Canadian themed kind of. They're just like cozy and fun. And so I'm running a show for them where whenever there are hockey games, they're like that are only on the East Coast, so they get out like at like 7, and then everyone's like, well, now what? So they're this fall, those dates are like they're right there, October 16th, October 23rd, and November 3rd. And you can get there's ticket links at the Angry Beaver Instagram, I believe, also on my Twitter and my Twitter account and my Instagram. If you go on my Twitter, you can scroll through it and I think the link that I have on there is to that. You should.
Twitter account too will have that link too. Just so you know.
Oh, thank you.
Does the Angry Beaver, does it have TVs for the game going on, so that way game's over, you guys walk up, start the shabazzle?
Well, it's
post-game.
a hockey bar. They play hockey, but we're not. So that's the whole point.
So the game's on.
No. First off, how do you not know this? You're in performance arts. Okay, well, actually, I guess you're in music, so that's different. I guess you could have shit
come
going
on now.
I'm sorry, that was
me to do theater.
I don't do theater. Are you kidding me? That's so much more work. No, you can't have game that's what I just said. That's why I just said that. It was because you can't have shit on when there's a stand-up show.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why it's only when there's games on that are only early games.
Right.
So the rest of the evening, yeah.
Right.
No.
So
Wait,
I
I'm
can
confused.
go to the Angry Beaver, watch
confused
the
what you
game, and
Yes,
then when the
and
game is
then-
over, I can turn my chair this way and be like, and now I'm
Oh.
watching Gabey do some cool
Oh,
shit.
I see. I was very confused what you were saying. Yes, sure, but you have to buy tickets. I mean, you don't have to buy tickets to be there to watch games, but you do have to buy tickets. If you are, yeah, you do have
To
to buy
stay
tickets.
in my chair, I have to give you money.
You have to give me
not your
$5 if
chair.
you're already there.
It's not your share.
No, but that being said,
Yeah.
that being said, if anyone listening to this does want to come, which you should, because all the lineups are really good, because I booked them myself and I have good taste. People who book bad lineups piss me off because now because people end up stumbling into those shows, watching a crappy show, and then being like, "Wow, stand up really is awful." And it's like, no, bad shows are bad. Just like anything,
Right.
a bad album, a bad music doesn't mean that music
Bad
as a medium
podcast.
is awful.
if you will.
But exactly.
I don't know what any of that's like.
And then at
But,
the same venue that
yeah.
that Kurt Cobain of Nirvana himself
No,
played at.
not true.
Is that
No,
not
they
true?
moved it. It's in Belltown now.
It's a different spot.
At the same,
Same name, different
namesake,
spot.
the same namesake where Kurt
Yeah.
Cobain of Nirvana himself played once. You will be doing Wackronyms on October 25th. Is this true? I've heard this
Yeah.
From
Haven't you heard it because I told you?
from you. Yes, it's true.
Yeah. This one is it's a show that I came up with this idea like 2 years ago, and it's a really stupid comedy panel show that because we don't really have panel shows in the US other than like wait, don't tell me. But in the UK they've got a bajillion. And it's like me and my friend Timmy Booth who is hosting it and running a lot of the tech stuff and really doing the shit that's more impressive than me for the live showing. We've been working for like a year and a half on like finally making this thing happen. It's going to be super chaotic, and it's also like our pilot run. And because it's not just pure stand up, like maybe there will be some hitches, who knows? But like, it's just, the whole point is just pure
Does it
chaos.
have like
It's
a
two teams-
QI type of setup where
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the subject and let's all fucking be kooky
I mean,
about
it's
it?
not literally QI. What you just
Sure.
described is just QI.
Right.
But yeah, it's two teams of two. And
In fact,
awesome.
we have done
and,
this
we're
with you
gonna
somewhat
cage match.
in a live Quack 12 show many years
true.
ago.
Oh,
I do
yeah.
believe.
Dude, that was
is
fun.
right. That was fun. One
Shout
day
out
we'll
to
do
Rego,
that again.
to UWDP user Rego for coming for that.
Oh yeah, that was great. I loved seeing him there. Honestly, this would have been a wonderful week for a live show in Seattle. Some would say the ultimate week, but we didn't plan it, so that's not
Hey, who's
happening.
to say we're not
Instead,
actually planning it in the background?
secret show? We're not. Gabey, we'd love to have you on for as long as you want to be on next week. Whatever you want to talk about, even if it's not football whatsoever. What do you say? I think
Sorry,
it's
my
possible.
whole internet
frozen.
just went out.
Oh, you're good. We see you now.
Did you guys say anything that I
Oh.
need to rebut?
Well,
Or else
once again, we'd love to have you on next week if you would like to
She's
come back
diverting
for
the
any amount of
question.
time, whatever you want to talk about. Are you down?
I'll come next week because I actually enjoy. Crucially, you guys record during the day, which for me is much more enjoyable than like
Yeah.
recording at night.
Yeah. I
Sometimes the night sesh can be fun, though.
Well, yeah, but it's usually like, and this is how we record our podcast is at night, and I'm like, and over Zoom, and I'm like, but I want to go to bed or go do things. Like I want to be able to do something with my evening.
Sure.
Yeah. If
But
you want, we
instead,
can do
now I
it
just have to
earlier.
sit here and
Usually we do it like at the fucking real early.
We go 7
Yeah.
a.m.
Coffee in
That's
one
gross.
hand, joint in the other.
Oh wait, can I add one thing about
Sure.
Angry Beaver and Wackronyms? Just if anyone wants to go, which you should, because it'll be fun and stupid. But you should buy tickets to that as soon as you can. But especially for the Angry Beaver, please, if you want to come, please buy tickets sooner rather than later. Because for that, I'm the ticketing platform admin, and I get to see the progress or lack thereof, and I get to have stress dreams about it.
Listeners,
So just for
buy
my
a
mental health,
ticket.
just like buy tickets.
Buy tickets. Buy 3 tickets to the Angry Beaver show, and then not the TV show.
They're
the Angry Beaver.
$7. They're literally the cheapest ticket you can
You-
get for a live
here's what
event.
you
Then
do.
buy us tickets to the game. That's all we're asking.
Oh yeah, and that.
Here's
Just
what you
give
do.
me like $400.
Come on.
You put You ask the Angry Beaver to put a menu item on the machine, so those people who are just sitting there watching the game drinking can just slap on an additional $7, get a free shot out of it, and it goes for the show.
What we're doing is like, if you're, and please don't listen to this and then be like, I'm gonna game the system, because then I'll think that not as many people are coming and I'll have stress dreams and die. No, if you're there, we're just gonna be like, just like $5 and you can stay, because you just need, for stand-up, you just need, or comedy in general, you just need people invested. So that's why whenever people are like, it's a free show, that's going to be a bad show. Because you're just going to get a bunch of randos who are like, wait, why is this going on? This is awful. We're going to keep talking.
Wait a second.
And all of the worst shows I've ever done have been free.
This show is free.
I don't know what I would do if I was trying to do some kind of talk-based live entertainment and people were talking about their own shit. I would lose my fucking mind, and I would probably end up just going off on them.
I think you'd roast them. I think it'd be a #1 YouTube hit. You roast them.
I would learn. You know how like people can do microphone tricks while they sing and pull it back in?
Yeah.
I would do the thing where you like kick it. You know, you swing it and then you kick it, and it will smack the person in the forehead. So you just hear like a perfect like dong, and then I pull it back in and I keep the show going.
Keep that in mind when you're at this show, and if you're talking about your own shit, maybe Gabe is going to pull this on you. Think about that.
Yeah.
Well, people that we're not going to talk about hecklers because that's not interesting to anybody.
Next week.
By the way, if you're ever at any gig of any kind and you think, oh, I'm not heckling, I'm helping, I'm engaging. No, you're not. Everyone around you hates you right now. Shut the fuck up.
It's true.
That's all.
It's true. And on that note, Fortnight has started. Gabey, as always, wonderful guest.
You too.
We'll be back to you, listeners, after these messages. Well, Aaron, hate to say it, but the time machine is broken.
I mean, this whole thing was running off the power of your cell phone. And obviously, when we hit 1894, there's no longer cell service or Wi-Fi connection, so...
Not gonna lie, I did not think this through.
God almighty, Adam, what are we supposed to do now?
I mean, we're in Eugene, Oregon in 1894. We could check out the very first duck game. Maybe it's a good thing.
No, it's not good. Look, we've already been here for about 5 days, and the very first thing I learned living in Eugene, Oregon, is that shows have been banned that are quote-unquote unchaste and demoralizing. And that's kind of the only kind of content we know how to make, dude.
We could review every duck season as it happens.
Even the children here are freaky.
Then post it on the Quack 12 Patreon in the future.
I mean, it's just really hard to not spoil, tragic national events.
Imagine it, a weekly show dedicated to Oregon football history with 2 charismatic time-traveling stoner hosts.
We live in the most expensive house in Eugene, and it's a fucking shack.
And the most beautiful thing about it? We can charge them a measly $5 in the future. And when we get it in the past, we'll be freaking millionaires comparatively. And I'm talking robber baron status, baby.
Adam, I make bugs fight in a shoebox just to simulate television.
All listeners would have to do is go to patreon.com/quack12 and sign up for hundreds of hours of duck entertainment.
But the hooch is good. In fact, it's kind of got me wanting to try my own hand at it.
That's right. For a measly $5 a month, that's patreon.com/quack12. Now let's go watch them lemon yellows give those hay seeds what for.
And keep your eye out for Dr. Schroeder's blueberry wine.
Oh, Aaron, what a commercial.
What a guest. I mean...
Yeah.
We just had one of the most riveting conversations I've gotten to have in forever.
Riveting is
correct grammar? My God.
No, not at all.
Anyway. Yeah, the
Well,
commercial's
Aaron,
great too. It does kind of poke fun at me, I feel like, but whatever.
We're doubling it up today because we got another. I mean, I guess you would say like, what is a more honorary term than guest?
Lieutenant General. I was thinking
Lieutenant
about
General?
it. Yes, for sure. This is our Lieutenant General coming in. Bop, 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 bop. And then we go,
Usually you
got
don't
it.
get
Now
that
we know what's
combo,
up.
right? You usually don't get a lieutenant who's also a general.
I think you do. I think
like
Lieutenant
this.
General's a thing.
Maybe.
He's like a battle master, if you will. He
Or
understands
she.
the. Well, our guest is. Anyway, I'm not going to get into
don't
gender
know,
politics
yeah.
because the guest. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, what a terrible intro this has become. Please, we're bringing on from Addicted to Quack, the resident film reviewer there, the managing editor. Honestly, if you are a Duck fan and want to know about this team, or if you're a Duck hater and want to know about your own team after and before they play the Ducks, you need to go to @Hythloday1, HYTHLODAY, the number 1 on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. And you also need to go to Addicted to Quack and read these absolutely wonderful articles. This is not just blowing smoke. They truly are the truth. Duct Tape, this most recent one, Duct Tape Film Review of Week 5, 2023 at Stanford. That is, of course, our Lieutenant General of the podcast, quite frankly, Hythloday 1. How is it going, Hythloday?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to tell you this about the Stanford game.
Lieutenant General is a rank in the U.S. Army.
Is a rank? Is it higher or lower than a general?
It's one rank below general. It's one rank above major general. It's an 09.
You know, I'm a little.
He's the dude.
Stars.
He's the dude that's got such a specific set of knowledge that when he gives you advice, you go, as a general, you go, okay, now I know.
What a take this is. I'm pretty ashamed.
I work for a living, though. You don't have to salute me.
Okay. I love it. I was in the Young Marines as a child, so I really should have known that. Yes, I was. Why? I don't really know, but that is
discipline issues. Were you kind of an outrageous kid getting into shit?
I'm a weirdo little kid. They came from the Army base in White City, Oregon, the aptly named White City, Oregon, and they came over to Medford. And they had this big spiel, like almost like join the Boy Scouts thing. And for some reason, as a goody two shoes little boy I was like, I would like to join the Marines.
Sure.
And I went through a boot camp and everything.
How old?
I was like, I don't know, middle school, so whatever that is, 14, something like that.
You know, I had 2 buddies that were in ROTC. It's
weird.
a thing.
You know, we burned down the ROTC, the University of Oregon campus in the 70s to protest against Vietnam, to bring it back to the Oregon Ducks. Anyways, Hythloday, like Vietnam, this Oregon-Stanford game gave me many flashbacks.
This is going to go somewhere. All right.
Because
Bravo.
I almost enjoy the feeling looking back at it, like being down 6-0, having 2 drives that I would not say, and your article also says this, but I mean, even at the time, I was like, they weren't bad Oregon drives. It was just they weren't successful Oregon drives. You know, like things went, like there was no huge disaster that destroyed the drives, just little missed opportunities, a little miscue here.
Yeah, sure. It's not like there was a sack or a fumble.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Something. Yeah,
no turnover or anything.
Sure.
But we only got those 2 drives up until like midway through the second quarter. And we were down 6-0, which is honestly a testament to the defense, obviously, that they had to, like, Stanford had to go, like, convert 4th downs.
The other thing is that those Stanford drives were assisted by, like, a kick out of bounds penalty, you know, so they start, like, on the 35. And then they, you know, so it's like that first drive is, like, 15 plays for 46 yards. So it's like 3 yards a play, you know. It's like,
God.
But it takes, like, a ton of time off the clock. Yeah, it's like the kind of thing, you know, Aaron, you were saying this the other day, like, I think after the Texas Tech game, where it's like, oh, it felt bad, but then, you know, when you think, you know, when you talk about it or analyze or whatever, you're sort of like, oh, you come off the edge, you know. And it's like this game, like, once you know what the outcome is, and you're sort of like, oh, those were 6 plays, and then like once you put them in sort of context, it's like, oh, who cares? It's like there were 6 bad plays, and then it's like, it's funny doing the film review. It's like, yeah, there were 6 bad plays. Actually, there weren't even 6 bad. It was 4. Like 2 of the 6 were successful plays. And it's like you just sort of like yeah, there were 6. And you rush through them, and then there's like 70 great plays. You're just like, okay,
yeah. Like, I think the bad Oregon-Stanford games of the past, like, or, all those games where it'd be like one is ranked high, the other one's having a bad season, and then the bad one somehow wins, is us actually stop, like, holding them to field goals. Like, we would have won this game even if they scored 2 touchdowns on their first 2 drives, but it made me feel much more comfortable the whole time. And then 1 touchdown away, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, Oregon's let the blowout begin is kind of what it felt like. But it brought me back to have that gut feeling of like, oh my God, is Stanford going to ruin our season? I loved it very much. But the score is another, I believe, 42-6.
Yeah, it was exactly the same score as the Colorado game. And interestingly, the exact same number of meaningful snaps for the offense, 47, as the Colorado game too.
Interesting.
Yeah. I felt like after the game was over, I was like, oh, well, that is the outcome I expected it to be. It just didn't happen in the sequence that I thought maybe it should have gone in.
And Aaron, that's as an analyst, like as someone who like throws up all the plays sort of out of order and sorts them, exactly. It is like if precisely, if you take the plays out of order and you just sort of like cluster them by success rates, yard per play, etc., like it maps out exactly the how you expect it. It's just
it's weird.
It's just here. Actually, I'll give you a funny stat. Because
I feel like they got their 6 points on schedule. We just weren't on schedule. You know what I mean? Like they got on the
late is their 6 points is what I thought it would be. Yeah. But,
in you may recall in the Oregon's 3rd possession when they finally start scoring touchdowns, there's a Bo Nix has a run where he keeps the ball. Actually, that plays in my article because it's a like a clever manipulation of one of Stanford's, actually 2 of Stanford's defensive penalties at the same time, which it's too complicated to explain on a podcast. Read my article; it was actually very interesting. But anyway, that play inclusive. And through the rest of meaningful play before garbage time, Oregon has a 77% success rate. For that play and for the rest of meaningful play, they win on 77% of their plays. Prior to that play, Oregon has a 37.5% success rate. So it's like they get all the bad plays out of their system, prior to that play. And then from that play on, it's like they can't be stopped. Now, that's not actually the case, like it's not, that's just not it, but it feels that way. It feels like, oh, they were playing horrible, but then they had an amazing play and like the switch flipped and then they could do no wrong. And like, oh, they got it out of their systems, or, they whatever metaphor you want to choose, like psychologically, they had the aha moment. Like there's 1,000 different literary cliches that you could use. It's just not how it works. Like it's just kind of random. Like they made a couple of mistakes. They weren't even the mistakes that they were making on the like 5 unsuccessful plays they had prior, during that sort of run of bad plays. They aren't they were mistakes that they actually continued to sporadically make throughout the game. In those, when I said 77% success rate, that means 23% failure rate. Hey, it was the same mistakes, like, and in previous games, they were making the same mistakes. It's just like, hey, like if you flip a coin 100 times, you know, if you roll a dice, you know, 100 times, you're gonna come up snake eyes a couple of times, and on top of that, a few times you're gonna have a run of rolling snake eyes like 3 times in a row. Like, that doesn't mean you're playing with loaded dice or that it has any significance at all. It's just, you know, weirdly, like, sometimes you're gonna roll snake eyes 3 times in a row, and it's like, oh, it doesn't mean that, you know, the supernatural has occurred. It's just probabilities like that sometimes.
Well, if we're
okay,
talking about the
can I ask-
supernatural, we'll let
You
Aaron
know-
get
Yeah.
that, but-
I have to say, one thing I do think about is maybe to some degree there's like the impending bye week has got you kind of already slow your final game before you go into rest mode. Maybe you're accidentally shutting off a little too much, a little too early.
I think
I
they just
don't
missed
know.
a few plays.
Yeah.
I felt pretty solid.
I don't know. I'm a superstitious man.
I'm not. I can walk you through it. Like, here's the thing. Like I said, it's 6 bad. It's 6 plays because it's 2
Sure.
3 and outs. 2 of them are good plays. You know, they run a sweep that was successful for 5 yards on 2nd and 9 in the first drive. They run an outside zone run on 1st and 10 on the second drive that gets 4 yards. You know, that's fine. So on 3rd and 4 on the first drive, totally manageable down and distance, right? What they do is this clip's in my article. They roll Bo Nix out, and they take a deep shot to Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson, of course, burns the coverage. I mean, just completely cooks them. And having Nix roll out and throw a deep shot, he's done that plenty of times, and he's connected plenty of times. Like, remember in UCLA, against UCLA last year, that was the commentator had some poetic, and the heavens parted and the angels wept. That was, it's exactly the same play. He hits those all the time. Like, there's nothing wrong with Bo Nix. He hits those all the time. It's just that it's not the highest percentage throw in the world. He's going to miss sometimes, he missed on that one. Who cares? It's also a little bit on Terrence Ferguson. He's the guy who's supposed to block David Bailey, their good outside linebacker. And he whiffs on the block, but like Nix had enough time to set his feet and he just missed on throw. Okay, whatever. The problem is he was calling a shot play on 3rd and 4, which, like, 3rd and 4 is not when you call a shot play. Come on, guys. You call a shot play on 2nd and 4. So if you miss it, you're like, it doesn't matter. I'll just call a run on 3rd and 4 and keep the drive going. I didn't like that it's not that I had an objection to calling the shot play. I had an objection to calling the shot play on 3rd and 4, So anyway, whatever. They missed it, whatever. And also having come off of giving up, an 8-minute drive to Stanford and then going on to give up another 8-minute drive to Stanford. It's just like, this wasn't the time to do this, guys. Now, but on the other hand, what if he hit that play?
Exactly.
If we would all be in hysterics if Stanford goes on an 8-minute drive in which they get 3 points out of it, and then Oregon takes 20 seconds to get 7 points, we would all be rolling on the floor laughing, like, how perfect, but
and we were inches away. Literal inches away.
But come on, Will, you don't call plays for the lulls, that's that's not good play calling. So anyway, second drive, it's 2nd and 6. I don't get this one at all, man. It's 2nd and 6. Stanford rushes just 3, and Bo Nix has he's got 2 dudes who are open. He's got Terrence Ferguson, and he's got Gary Bryant, both of whom are just they're wide open. They're standing on the line to Gaden, just nobody's anywhere around them. They're standing, showing their numbers, throw me the ball, Bo. But instead, with no pressure on them, because they're only rushing 3, Bo Nix breaks the pocket, starts running to the sideline, and then tries this crazy throw to Bucky Irving on the sideline, where he tries to do this this toe tap thing where he's falling out of bounds. Just he's a 5'9" running back. That's not what are you trying to do? It was just the dumbest. What are you doing? It was a crazy thing. It was but he never does that again. And I've never seen him try to do that before. And it was just it's just a one-off, it's just who can on the one hand, it's really stupid. On the second hand, Stanford didn't force it. Like, it had nothing to do with, like, oh, no, the defense is kicking Oregon's butt. Like, no, that was Oregon doing something dumb. But on the third hand, like, it was a dumb, college kid doing a dumb college thing. Like, who cares? It's just like, there's no pattern. There's no, like, there's nothing to get up about, like, it was just a dumb, Now, if that starts happening in every game, then I'll start writing, there's a problem here. But it hasn't. It was just a dumb thing that happened.
And I think it goes to show you, like, for this game, as far as the Duck perspective, the fact that we're talking mainly about these few drives in the beginning.
Yeah, like one play on one drive.
This is the nitpicking you want.
Yeah.
This means your team's dominating.
Oh, God.
Another, I would imagine.
Well, you're always worried. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You're always worried because for some reason you get invested.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just
we
saying.
should stop it now. We should stop the podcast now.
It's
It
kids
doesn't
playing
make
a game. I know, it's very dumb to get invested in these ways.
Even if one of those players happens to be the most veteran player in all of college football or whatever, sometimes he'll make mistakes.
It is weird that he does dumb stuff like that every once in a while. You'd think like the guy who's played like the most college football games ever wouldn't be doing that. Like,
I mean, I'm sure we could pull up some bad Tom Brady plays where you're like, what was he thinking?
I'm sure.
But as far as film
Could
reviewing
pull up some bad
goes,
Justin Herbert plays.
Hey, shut up. They don't exist. By the way, Aaron, there was like a little bit late hit on the sideline on Justin Herbert, and you should have seen his teammates rally around the guy who did it.
Really?
It's actually really cool because it was not them literally trying to like fight this guy. It was just 30 NFL players surrounding him. Like they're a school of fish and just shouting him down. Like, it was pretty cool. They love Justin Herbert, and so do we.
That's great.
Half of
yeah,
this
we do.
podcast, anyway.
Just bringing it up. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, shut up. But with the injuries a few injuries to Oregon, mainly Kyrie Jackson, which I absolutely jinxed him. I cannot believe on Twitter I literally had just said like, Kyrie Jackson may be the most impressive person we've added to this squad or whatever. The 30
really
seconds later.
What really sucks, I'm sure that the reason that you said that, there's a longer story. I'm sure the reason that you said that was he got a sack. The reason that he got a sack was that Oregon had adjusted to a particular way that Stanford busted out, kind of like how Texas Tech did, had busted out some new plays and new formations that they hadn't shown on film before. And Oregon was actually doing a really, kind of like the low-key, few people noticed because, like, who cares in a blowout? But I do because... Like I'm charting the games, and so I notice it. Like the computer just easily notices these things. That I have a little piece of code that flags them for me. Like, hey, they never ran this before, and like it was going nuts because there was like 5 of them, or like new formations. And so anyway, part of why on Stanford's first 2 possessions they got longer. They were able to sustain those drives a little longer than they otherwise might have. There are a few other reasons for that I won't comment on. Was some of those new plays, which like are it's all for any defense. It's just like when they're having to deal with something for the first time, that they the opponent usually gets a little bit of an advantage there. But actually, Oregon was doing a very good job by usually like the second time Stanford tried to run that play or line up in that new formation, Oregon nailed it. And it was just like, hey, good job, defensive coaching staff, right?
Nice.
And so anyway, that sack that Kyrie Jackson got, that was on a second time Stanford tried to run a particular, formation, and the adjustment that they had is, oh, hey, that leaves the backside empty, so Jackson can come off his coverage and come in and get... He can come off that because the play is always going to roll to that side, and he can come in and slash in that way and get a sack. So he does get a sack. So then they try to run it a third time. He slashes in. He's going in for a sack. The offensive lineman comes and gets him, rolls him up, And then, even though he's already blocked him, he's out of the play. The offensive lineman then takes him to the ground. I'm not saying the offensive lineman did anything dirty. He's sort of just finishing the play. I'm not accusing Stanford of doing anything evil here. The offensive lineman's just doing his job. But like he takes him to the ground. And that's how Kyrie Jackson gets hurt. And so it's like, I'm yes-anding you here, Adam. Like, not only was Kyrie Jackson like completely kicking ass, but like the entire defense was completely kicking ass in adapting to new plays. And so it's especially like ironic and awful that Jackson got hurt on such a play, because like it was so exemplary of what a good job Oregon's defense was doing at adapting to like the new stuff that Stanford was sort of cavalierly throwing at them.
And so with him out, it appeared like was it Dante Manning who really stepped into that role, or what
it was
exactly?
Actually it was Nico Reed that was very interesting, because they had been using him pretty much exclusively as their slot corner, and when Jackson went down, they slid him over to play the outside corner, and they continued to flip back and forth at the other outside spot between Manning and Florence. I think one of those guys is a little dinged up. I'm not sure who, but I think one of those. I think it might be Manning is a little dinged up. I'm not certain about that. Don't quote me, but like I think that's the issue about why they're splitting time. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is there? Because I know we did get into garbage time pretty quickly here, but was there anything that you took out of that besides maybe? Oh, it's interesting that Nico got that spot. Because otherwise, I can't really think of too many. I know Strother actually got some reps.
Yeah,
the very
to see him? Yeah, the very last possession of the game, which is deep into garbage time, they completely subbed out all of their offensive linemen, and 4 of them were guys who we'd seen before. Ope. And Pickard was the center, and Kawika Rogers was the other tackle, and Dave Yulee, who he'd seen before. But yeah, the left guard was Nishad Strother, so that's cool. I'd definitely like to see him back to health. Let's see. On defense, there was okay, so I had written before this game that Stanford had this interesting thing that I actually couldn't solve because I didn't have enough data for it. I ran it through the regression engine, but I couldn't crack it. Where they're like, the only way they were ever getting yards were these out of the blue, like 40-yard plays. And I was just like, how the hell are they getting these plays? And I couldn't crack it like at all. It was just like not enough data. And even more problematically, the quarterback who was getting most of those big plays was their running quarterback, who was the guy they had starting this game, which was like really weird. Like they have a running quarterback who is also their big play quarterback. Like their quarterback system is screwy as hell, dude. And
why don't you just keep him in?
And Daniels, their like main, I guess, quarterback gets hurt because Evan Williams, sacked him and basically like hit his, like you saw him later in the game. The hit caused his face mask to go up into his face and got a really nasty contusion on his cheekbone. Knocked him out of the game. Actually, interesting side note, I've actually talked to both of their dads who were involved in that collision, because Ashton Daniels he's from Georgia, like he's a Georgia State high school champion, and like his dad is a University of Georgia podcaster, and I was on a University of Georgia podcast when Oregon played that team last year, and I talked to his dad, and like it came up, hey, my son plays for Stanford, you might see him, and we had no idea that he'd wind up being the starting quarterback. So anyway, and then like Evan Williams, his dad is Gary Williams, who used to play defensive back for Cal back in the 80s. Actually, he's in on the play, like the band is out on the field, that play.
Nice.
And so he's the dad of Evan Williams, of course, and also Bennett Williams, and both of whom played for Oregon. And
who was at the game. We saw the pictures of it. He's got a little like what are those called? The little head cutouts. Of a baby Evan Williams. It was very cute.
Or when he was playing baseball or something like that. So Yeah. Anyway, his father like comments on my articles. So anyway, yeah, how funny that like both players involved. I talked to their dads. Anyway, not that I show favoritism or anything. Like you can't buy my love. Anyway, the
You can buy ours though for a measly $5 a month over on the Patreon.
Excellent. Good transition. Anyway, their quarterback system is super screwy. They get a bunch of explosive plays, in particular that quarterback, Lamson, which is weird because he's the running quarterback, but he also gets the really big shot plays. So anyway, long digression. It seemed clear to me that in the first quarter, Oregon had a defensive game plan about preventing those shot plays. And it was like, I'm not kidding when I say it's the only way that they get yards. The analysis that the computer spat out was that a majority, like 51% of all yards that Stanford has gotten this season come from 9% of their plays. Like 9% of their snaps produce 51% of their yards, because they're totally dependent on getting those like out of the blue 40+ yard plays. It's just like, wow. So like Oregon, I think very clearly showed up with a game plan that's like, okay, well, all we got to do is stop those big plays. And so they did. They had a defensive scheme, and like it's too complex to explain that scheme. You're just going to read my article. Like I have a visual illustration of it. The issue with that though is that I should say it was successful. Stanford never got any of those plays. The longest play that they had in this game was 18 yards. They didn't have a single play that was, 20+ yards. They didn't even attempt them. Oregon completely had them locked out of those. So, like, number one, good job. They did the same thing that they did against Hawaii, which, sort of the same deal where Hawaii is totally dependent on big passing plays, and Oregon totally took them away. So, like, yay, hooray, hooray. But there's this other thing where Stanford also does these very simplistic like hitch plays where they have two receivers run the most like simple passing play you've ever seen in your life. I will describe this one because it's so basic. The dude he stands in the slot, he runs 10 yards forward, he turns around, and then he just stands there and waits for the quarterback to throw him the ball. Like, it's the most like basic thing you've ever seen in your life.
Like the movie Hitch.
Sure. Definitely basic bitch kind of deal. And it's like Stanford's got 3 passing plays in their playbook, and that's one of them. And it's just like, oh man. And so kind of the downside of the Oregon's defensive strategy, they show up in the first quarter to take away the big plays, is that it kind of leaves that play, the basic bitch play open. And that's how Stanford was kind of moving the ball a bit during those first 2 drives. And they also had this really complex, pass rush plan. That's the other like half of it. Don't ask me to explain that. And it's in my article. If you want an explanation, don't ask me to do it without a whiteboard.
Love it.
Anywho, Oregon by the second quarter realized, hey guys, they're not pulling off the shot plays. We don't need to do this whole complex thing to shut down their shot plays. Let's just blitz and play man. So that's what they do. They go to a very simple, straightforward pass rush. They start blitzing them. They crush them on the offensive line, and they play man. And they just like those basic bitch plays. They just like put a dude in front of them. Or like, and because they're better athletes, and so they shut those down too, and they don't sacrifice the deep play coverage either. Like they don't have to worry about the deep plays, and they don't have to worry about the intermediate plays, and so that's why Stanford gets like nothing for the rest of the game. So like, for people who are, people have asked me like, what do you think about Tosh Lupoi? Like as a defensive coordinator, is he making defensive adjustments? And I'm like, yeah, he is. Or like, I don't actually know who's doing the defense because like, is it Dan Lanning? Is it Chris Hampton? Like, there's a bunch of like defensive minds on this. So I'll just say the defensive staff. Is the defensive staff making adjustments? Yeah, you bet your ass they're making adjustments. They're making tons of defense. They figured out Texas Tech's quarterback runs. They figured out Stanford's defensive runs. They figured out Stanford's nude. They shut down Hawaii's explosive plays. They shut down Stanford's defensive plays. They shut down Stanford's intermediate plays. Like, yeah, they make lots of adjustments. They do a very good job of it. Yeah,
hell,
pretty cool.
Hell yeah! And we get a couple weeks to sit on it till the next big one. Now, we have less picks to make, but we have picks to make So I think it's time to go over there. That is right. The best segment there is on the interweb foot. The picks. The picks. The picks. The great pick'em challenge, if you will. Let's get into it. Now, we got quite a few bye weeks, including number 8. Number 8, Oregon, is on the bye. That is right. We're all the way up to number 8. Could be higher, but honestly, I think you want some kind of chip on your shoulder. You want some bulletin board material. It's better for us to be ranked lower right now. We don't need to be number 5 or whatever. Let's just be number 8. Top 10 sounds good to me. Then Stanford is on a bye. Hopefully they can figure some shit out. Otherwise, they may very well be the worst team in the Pac-12, which is saying something. Number 18, Utah has a bye week after getting, losing to Utah. To Oregon State and Utah, I guess.
I have to interject here real quick. Mm-hmm. Whoever is in charge of scheduling the Pac-12, football schedule, it's no wonder it's going out of business because, good God, learn how to stagger the game so that you are always producing content.
Well, I'll give you this. I do love. We've been talking about this. You gotta love that both Oregon and I believe this is next Washington.
Yeah.
Have buys.
But nobody else should. You should have some kind of football. I mean, 4 games? I don't know.
Well, we're going to go over
money
these
with
4
only
games.
4 games.
I mean,
they're not.
At maximum, they can only produce 6.
Yeah. Well, Aaron wants more people in the conference, I think. So every week, let's just get rid of the buys. It's not helping us out. Number 7, that is right. 1 above us as of right now. Things could change. We could have, some top teams lose and us slot up there. But as of right now, it looks like it's definitely going to be a top 10 matchup. Maybe number 7 versus number 8. Who knows? Possibly the biggest Oregon-Washington game ever as far as hype going into it. Now let's get into the real games here. UCLA versus Washington State. Number 13. 13 Wazoo. And they are truly the team that's just getting shat on left and right by dumbasses on game day, by the world, seemingly. So it's pretty fun to root for Wazoo. They beat Oregon State. I wish that game hadn't happened already, but it did happen. And so now they got even more momentum. They're looking pretty solid. They're going against UCLA, a team that suffered their first loss against Utah 14-7 a couple weeks ago, because I believe they just had both these teams are coming off a bye week, I do believe. They got freshman Dante Moore, obviously. Seems like he's totally got the reins. Cam Ward has much more of a command of this offense than last season anyways. Still every once in a while makes a little bit of a goof, but overall is looking pretty solid. Saturday, 12 p.m., Pac-12 Network. Aaron, who do you got? Think it over. You got plenty of time.
Don't believe in either team, to be honest with you. I don't. If they asked me to help them move, I'd have to say no, because I'm like, no, it's going to be a shit show moving you.
You're going to go over there, and they're going to be like, yeah, man, all you got to do is like move some boxes. You go over there, you're like, dude,
nothing's in boxes.
Not packed, you don't have boxes.
I'm not moving your VHS tapes, bro. I'm gonna go.
There's a sink full of dirty dishes, dude. I'm not washing your dishes and then drying them and packing them.
I think I have to go with Washington State.
You're going with Wazoo. You're going with your heart. Is that what you would
say? No. I don't know what it is about UCLA, but I just, they're like bad with money, non-trustable, where Washington State is just like, you said you wouldn't do that thing that annoys me, and you keep doing it.
I don't know where it's coming from, but I love it.
Yeah.
I want Wazoo to win this. I definitely want Wazoo to win this, just for the
You mean
narrative.
the team that got screwed by the Pac-12 blowing up versus the team that blew up the
Yeah.
Pac-12?
Yeah, I want the good guy to win this instead of the bad guy is basically what I'm going with. And they very well could. It is at home for UCLA, but that doesn't necessarily
that means nothing.
Yeah, at all. Like anything. Wazoo definitely wants it more. I haven't fully watched, because so many of the games with UCLA have been kind of like just blowouts, or I missed the UCLA Utah game. I watched some highlights and stuff, but so I am not as familiar with UCLA, and Chip Kelly's constantly doing his lab work with this team, so it's hard for me to track. I'm just going to go with the team I want to win. I'm going with Wazoo because they have truer hearts.
Awesome.
Aaron, do you have, Hythloday, do you have a good take on this game? Do you have a good sense?
I mean, not really. I still haven't watched a second of film on Wazoo, which, like, obviously
Wow.
I'm going to over the bye week. It's just like they haven't played a team that Oregon's, played yet. Or, they just haven't been on my film schedule, and I knew I had this bye week, this is the time I'm going to be doing the catch up, but I just haven't done it yet. And so, like, a bunch of the questions about, like, is this for real about Wazoo or not? I just haven't resolved yet. Like, I don't know whether or not, Cam Ward is for real, or those receivers are for real, or, whether they've actually patched their defensive line. I mean, like, this game is going to help me resolve a lot of those questions. On the other hand, like, I'm fairly confident. No, I'm not actually confident. Like, I have a strong suspicion that I'm going to feel really good if it turns out to be true, but that's not the same thing as confidence. So let me walk that dog back. I am going to feel super vindicated if the following thing that I'm about to say winds up being the case, which is Chip Kelly doesn't know what he's doing regarding having taken Dante Moore and trying to make a pocket passer playbook work, that he needs a running quarterback to bail his ass out, and that this is going to be a disaster, and that, like, for a schedule that he got in which he could fall backwards into the Pac-12 title game, that he's going to wind up blowing it to teams that are, from a talent perspective, are and ought to be, like, inferior to what UCLA ought to be, because they're in Los Angeles and ought to have 5 stars from top to bottom. And, like, critical to that theory coming true is blowing it to Wazoo. So therefore Wazoo's... Yeah, so for my theory to be true, Wazoo's going to beat him, and so I'm going to take Wazoo to beat him. Because I'm going to feel great when that happens. So why not bet on feeling great?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Baby, I do it every day.
Otherwise, man, this game is totally a toss-up. Like, every advanced statistic comes up with a toss-up, or just goes with home field advantage. But as you say, there is no home field advantage for UCLA. So, like, who knows, man? Might as well just go with your gut. My gut is telling me that Chip Kelly doesn't know what he's doing.
The only thing I'm betting on is win or lose, Cougs boost. Let's do the next one here. Arizona State, the Sun Devils, versus Colorado. Sun Devils are definitely kind of the pluckiest team, the easiest team to root for, where you're like, when my team plays them, we're definitely going to beat them. But it's fun to see them give these other Pac-12 teams what for. For example, I went with Cal. No, I went with the Sun Devils. Both of you went with Cal. Yeah. That felt like the one that Arizona State could maybe pull off, because Cal's a little bit of a mess right now and forever, seemingly. And they nearly did. It was a game. Scatterboo which is literally their everything for this team right now, is still very fun to watch and root for with a name like Scatterboo, and just his size is hysterical. He's such a strong, tough little guy. And it's like, and ASU is having a bunch of like QB problems, a lot of them getting injured. I really want Arizona State to beat somebody. Not sure if it's going to happen this Pac-12 cycle. Eventually they're going to catch up to someone. They didn't look great against Cal, but almost won that one. Meanwhile, Colorado, Aaron, rallied back from multiple scores. They were like a 22-point underdog against USC. It came down to like they went for an onside kick, down one score. We're going to go for the tie. Like they really did rally back, all due to USC's truly terrible defense. But yeah, Colorado had a shot. Like they were down 2 scores, had like 5 minutes left on the clock. Took a bit, maybe too long on that final drive. Went for the onside kick, didn't get it. The game ended. But there was very nearly an upset of USC, so it was very fun to watch.
That's what we were predicting last week, if I remember correctly, is that was kind of going to be the...
I thought USC was going to blow them out the water, but I was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Well, I meant if there was a game to lose, that was the game Colorado was going to lose.
They were for much of the game, and they should have.
Yeah,
but then,
they really should have.
Yeah, but then Grinch happened.
Oh, Grinch. You got to love him.
I like Colorado.
I definitely love him. Oh, there's no coach in the Pac-12 that I love more than Alex Grinch.
So, Aaron, you got 2 very plucky teams. Both of them are easy to root for, right? Well, ASU's harder
It's
to root
easier to root
for
for one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, America's rooting for one of them. So who you going for?
Yeah.
You going
I'm going Colorado. I want those buff men. I want big, sexy men dancing in my face. Give me the buff men.
That's something different than this game, it seems like. But
no,
I mean, if I went with Arizona State, it would just be because I want an upset that I don't think is going to happen.
Right.
And honestly, I do want. People are insane. The amount of people I'll listen to other podcasts and be like, "Well, the floor for Colorado seems like 7 wins." Nah, dude, the floor could be like right now. So what you got to do is just you get to a bowl game. It's huge, wonderful achievement for Colorado. You should be excited for that. I want that to happen.
I think it's inevitable
for that to happen. In my opinion, this is like one of those like you got to have this game because there's going to be harder games.
I mean,
and this needs to be one you win.
I feel like they're an 8 or 9 win team. I think they're going to pull out 8.
They don't have the schedule to get 8 wins.
Oh, wow. Okay. Never mind. I take it back. I was just kidding. I was just testing you guys.
But if they do get 8 wins, then you're going to be like, I was not kidding. I was actually dead serious.
Exactly. I'm going to Matt Gates you.
Yeah.
The worst human in the world. Sorry.
That's quite the title. You sure you're ready to give him that?
No, I don't want. He's anyway.
Anyways, I got to go with Colorado though. They show more fight. Who knows who will be back for this game? I haven't looked up anything, but possibly Travis Hunter, probably not, but maybe a few other weapons. Plus, we want Jack Barsh to have a good time. Sorry, Hode Rubino. Hythloday, Sun Devils, Buffs. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Colorado. It's crazy. Like the advanced stats are all completely all over the map on this one. Which like I can't really figure out. I mean, honestly, look, man, Arizona State's only win this year is a 3-point win over an FCS team. They couldn't beat Cal. Meanwhile, Colorado, almost beat USC, and
as did ASU.
And has beaten 2 Power 5 teams. I they definitely Colorado has more high talent players on their team than Arizona State does. The one sort of thing that gives me pause is that Colorado has definitely played better at home than they've played on the road. And Arizona State has definitely played better at home than on the road. And so the fact, if this were in Boulder, I'd just be smashing the table like Colorado. I'm done. I don't need to talk about this. The fact that it's in Tempe is the only reason I'm hesitating at all. But I don't know. That's not a good reason. I just think that Colorado's probably accomplished more in a game that I don't know, could go anywhere. I think that I don't know. Arizona's like quarterback situation is screwy, but they're probably just going to wind up with going with Bourget, for the rest of the year, at least until dudes get healthy. And Colorado is sort of like their depth is starting to really be a problem. Like they're down like a lot of their defensive backs at this point, which it's not just Travis Hunter, like it's a lot of their defensive backs. On the other hand, like they finally discovered a Marion Miller who, like, if you recall, Jack Barsh nailed that guy. Remember when we talked to Jack and I was like, if they got to find somebody else in the receiver core, who's it going to be? And he's like, well, probably a Marion Miller. And then he goes and has a game against USC and is like, hey, way to go, Jack. Anyway, like, yeah, this is why we do this, right? This process is good. Anyway, yeah. So I just think that like Colorado's just got more weapons, like, whereas Arizona State, like you said, like Scadabo's like they're, like, which is a weird thing to say because it's also a team that has like Elijah Badger and Jalen Conyers, and it's like they can't figure out how to get those guys the ball. Like the reason why Scadaboo does like crazy stuff is because they can like quickly dump the ball off to that guy. I mean, really, it's an offensive line issue. Like I'm not, I don't know why I'm hemming and hawing about it. It's like, it's very obvious. Like even Cal was blowing him up, and like, and like Colorado, like it's kind of weird, but like they do actually have a couple of good edge rushers. Actually, there's my prediction for the game. I think that Colorado is going to live in their backfield, and like, that's probably going to be why Colorado wins the game.
There you go. I mean, in the year 2023, if Arizona State is playing a football game, you should probably say the other team's going to win. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Not a bad prediction. They couldn't beat Cal. I should have just said that and been like, they couldn't beat Cal. If you can't beat Cal, you're not going to win a football game.
Oh, shit. Well, now I know who I'm going to pick, Adam. I'm going with the Beavers.
You're going with the Beavers. Good choice on this one. Cal's actually genuinely pissing me off when I'm watching these games.
Wow,
they're not
really?
bad enough where you're like, oh, they're so bad it's entertaining, or like, oh, they're in such a bad spot that if you see them next week and they're better, you're like, oh, good for you. They're just annoyingly bad and missing offensive sparks.
Remember, to some of those kids, it's the best they're ever going to be. So try to stay positive about it.
I don't give a shit. No.
Come on. There's no need for that energy.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry, Rob Wong, if you're listening to this. Cal versus number 15 Oregon State. Obviously, my dream of 11-0 Oregon State meeting an 11-0 Oregon is forever dead. It will never happen in the history of the world because the Beavers blew it. Now they're taking on Cal. I don't think they have it in them to blow this one. I could see it maybe being, if it's close, I'm disappointed. And if it's close, it's because DJU is missing on some basic passes.
Does this merit an after dark theoretical spooky season?
Ooh, when is this game played?
7 p.m.
Ooh,
Aaron, you may
but
have
in
called
Berkeley, so
something
who cares?
there. Yeah. Usually Cal on the road, dark. Oh, now you got something. But I think Oregon State is good enough to win this one. Like, I don't think they can. I was about to say comfortably.
Well, they're ranked 15. You'd assume they're good enough.
No,
Yeah,
it'll be a game just like the Utah game, where like Oregon State is clearly better, but
It's
they're not
oddly
like
close.
wildly. It'll be like 21-7, where it's like, okay, they were better, but they were 14 points better, and you at the end of the game, you're just like, this team has problems. Like this is
almost
the
like
15th ranked team.
Every Beavers win has kind of been like that.
Well,
Really.
yeah,
they
like,
didn't
exactly.
rip their head off. Like they really
That
should rip
also-
their head off.
That also validates Adam's feelings about being annoyed at Cal because that's exactly the most boring way to lose a game.
Well, right. Yeah, you think you're the only one who's annoyed by Cal? Go to Write for California. You will find 700 subscribers who are annoyed by Cal and have been for the last 7 years.
Do you want to buck the trend and go with Cal after all that talk?
I'm picking Oregon State.
Yeah. So we've all chosen the same. So Aaron, if you're gonna If you're, yeah, I believe so. We all chose Wazoo, all chose Colorado, all chose Beavers.
Yeah.
Aaron, if you want to zig, where we're gonna zag, maybe this is it. Number 9 USC versus Arizona. If you want a Pac-12 After Dark game, if you want some chaos,
this would be the chaos game of the year.
Yeah, okay. Saturday 7:30 p.m. on ESPN in the Coliseum.
Okay.
Number 9 USC, Arizona upsetting a top 10 team? Who can imagine? No Duck fan.
I mean, we had just talked to Gabey, and there was a whole situation there.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm going to go.
What did Gabey have to say about this game? Was it just an hour of, the desert, the desert?
It was a little bit. There was a little bit of, yes, there's some desert magic.
Yeah.
Overall, I think her main mentality was like, nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
That was kind of the idea of it. Even though I would be a little bit worried. This was a game. This was it didn't feel exactly as big of a letdown as USC Colorado, like Colorado rallying back.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington, they're like famous offense right now, was for like Arizona did take away a lot of the deep shot for them.
Yeah.
And it made it so they had to go like, the shorter, quicker stuff. And that was mainly successful. However, at the end of this game, this thing where where all year long we've been hearing, Washington, they've got this unstoppable deep ball. Their offense is so prolific that it's just it doesn't kind of matter what their defense did. In this game, their defense did matter. It came to an onside kick, and it didn't feel like Arizona. And Arizona had a backup running back, backup quarterback. Maybe that was you could add some to that.
Washington's playing injured too. They've got a number of people out. So.
Well, I asked her about it, and she didn't seem concerned.
But what do you think?
No, I don't. I don't know. What I just thought was funny was like, because Oregon played earlier in the day, and like that, it was like 14-6 at halftime. So you had a bunch of like Washington fans who were like, you were making a little fun and. And then the night game rolls around and they're sweating bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'm hearing a lot less chirping, from Seattle.
Any
how
Washington
strange,
fan, any Washington fan who was chirping at that moment has a short memory, or they are like 6 years old.
Like, dude, you're playing in the desert today. Like, I would not be tempting fate by chirping. Yeah,
exactly. But Aaron,
I'm going with the Zona.
You going with Zona?
Aaron.
I am.
It may be good for you because
on the other hand,
alert,
Aaron. Oh,
yeah.
Like Aaron's magic power is being brought to bear in what would be like the upset of the season.
Oh yeah. If you think
I think it'd be fun.
If you think Jed Fish is a good coach, which we have been,
I don't know anything about him.
I know.
All I know,
he coaches Arizona. If you do think he is, which we've been hearing that over the last couple of years, even though there's not many wins in the season for Arizona, it's like,
sure.
But this it's amazing how he's moving them in the right direction. You could conceivably go like, okay, USC is clearly flawed in a lot of parts of the game, and then is a god in one. Maybe they can cause enough chaos, and maybe they can be aggressive enough on offense, being like, this is going to be a shootout from moment one. We just got to like balls to the wall, baby. Fafita, right? Noah Fafita is their quarterback.
Yes.
He is a better human being
he was
than the last one.
For the last game, it was because Stanford hurt him in their Week 4 game.
Yeah, so maybe the other guy.
Like it didn't look like. It didn't look like a catastrophic injury. So like I don't know. Delora could come back at sort of any time. I think.
I would like to choose Arizona, but I've got a lead in the picks overall. USC will. Hopefully they still continue to look kind of bad while doing it on defense. But I got to go with USC, Aaron. Sorry. I hope you're right. Hit the day. Are you ready to go with the upset alert here?
No. I'm taking USC. Although, like, I don't know if Arizona covered the spread, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Like,
and what is that? Like 21?
21 and a half is what I'm saying.
Wow. Of course.
Hythloday, Do you think who is your favorite?
I mean, night game in the Coliseum is another example of like no home against a like non-ranked opponent that they're there's another example of like no home field advantage.
Who is your favorite DC, let's say in the Pac-12 right now?
Ooh, favorite DC in the Pac-12. Like as a human being or as a
let's say, well, I'll put it this way, because what I'm trying to say is, if you were to plop them, now they work for USC, Grinch is out, this person's in, who would you want to choose, and how drastic, let's say from the off season, how drastic of an improvement do you think it would be, or do you think it would not
if I could grab any defensive coordinator, if I were USC's athletic director and I were being paid money in a good faith effort to force Lincoln Riley to have a better team, and I could only take other Pac-12 defensive coordinators in order to do so, the person that I would take is Morgan Scalley from Utah, because the way that he does safety, 'cause their big problem for USC's defense is their safeties, and so fixing their safeties would be something, even though he doesn't, that's Sharif Shaw, but like the Scally would fix their safeties, and so they would have the biggest boost from that. That is not exactly the same thing as saying that I think that Morgan Scally is my favorite defensive coordinator in the Pac-12, but he'd be my pick for USC.
Would you imagine just like immediate improvement of like allowing 10, 14 less points?
If they fired Alex Grinch and had a border collie coordinating their defense, they would immediately give up 7 fewer points per game. He is actively harming their defense because of his poor coaching of the safeties.
Is it? Would you say it is because I know there's some discussion even of like how much. Is it because of bad tackling, bad scheme, bad everything, combination of the two?
If you read my Duck Dive article over the summer that previews USC, which I believe was published in April or May, May. It explains all of this. It explains both schematically and execution-wise why it comes down to precisely the safeties, and why it's all Alex Grinch's fault. It's extensive. It's extensive discussion, and it's documented thoroughly. It's not an illusion. It's not an accident or a blip it's him.
The Grinch who stole Pac-12 championship, some would say. Here we are. This is last week's total here. I'm at 29 points. Hythloday's at 33 points.
Wow.
Aaron is at a measly 26 points.
Come on.
Well, it's the numbers, man.
I'm going to kick your
Adam,
ass.
you and I picked all the same this week. That'll be the gap for next week.
So that'll be, there's a lot of that. Well, here's where we're at as of right now. That is right. I got 4 right. Hythloday got all 5 of his choices correct last week. Aaron also got 4. I even got them written down here, I think.
Adam, how did you and I differ last week?
I went with I really, really, really wanted Arizona State to beat. And they did not.
I came close.
Aaron, on the other hand, showed. I got it written here somewhere, but now I don't really know what it is. You got one wrong. That's all I know, Aaron.
Hey, that's all right. I'll allow one wrong a week.
Oh, you went with the Utes. You went with the Utes against Oregon State.
That's not
God
bad.
almighty, that
Not a
team.
bad
I
pick.
just try to go against them and they win, and then I try to go for them and they lose. It's like, come on, kids.
Well, hopefully the Cam Rising will rise again at some point. The Great Pick'em Challenge, there it's been, and that's been the Quack 12 podcast. Once again, listeners, Addicted to Quack is where you have to be if you are a serious Duck fan, because not only are the Duck Tape articles there, which is the best film review, period, for this team and their opponents. There's also just a bunch of other great articles written by a bunch of great writers that, some will get your tail feathers up, some will inform you, but they're all seriously solid. And not only that, hey, you're a podcast listener. Why aren't you listening to It Never Rains on this podcast? In fact, we even had someone they were very kind, and they added us on Twitter to say that they didn't like the podcast very much, except for when Hythloday was on it. Why don't you go over to It Never Rains on this podcast? Yeah. Why don't you go over to It Never Rains on this podcast? And you can get all the Hythloday you want, baby. What can I say? Trim the fat is all I got to say. At Quack
Some people
podcast,
just don't get it.
Whatever. Yeah, well, they didn't like one of the hosts, the main host of the Quack 12. I'll leave who.
Well, I mean, the show wouldn't exist without you, Adam, so.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me, baby. Yeah, At Addicted to Quack.
I don't know how you're the one.
I bring nothing. At Quack 12 Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, Patreon, blah, blah, blah. It's Hate Fortnight. Celebrate with your families. Put up your hate trees. Light the hate menorahs. Do whatever you need to do to fill your heart with hate. Bring it home. Share that hate with your family. I don't know.
Look, hit the sauna. Grab a massage. Enjoy the weekend.
No. Yeah. Do we have a super... let's do a really good, quick, super specific prediction for the USC-Arizona game, because that's going to be the most fun one. Well, Aaron, what do you got? USC, number 9. Is it just that Arizona's going to win? Because that's... I mean, that's not very super
It's all
specific.
going to happen because what's going to start the game is that Arizona's going to kick to USC. USC's going to return. It's going to be a fumble. Arizona's going to run it back for a touchdown, and that's just going to be what happens, and that's how far they stay ahead the entire game.
Zachariah Branch with the mistake right off the bat.
In the first 15 seconds, there will be 7 points on the board.
Okay. Yes, that is awesome, Aaron. I love that so much. For me, I'm going to say, so regardless of what happens in the USC-Arizona game as far as results are concerned,
sure,
a 24-point USC lead will be erased at some point. That's mine.
Sure. I see what you're saying, kind of a Washington type thing.
Yeah, something like that. And Hythloday, you got a super specific prediction for us?
Oh boy, both of those are really good and kind of what I was going to go with. That Arizona is going to break off like an enormous play, the USC would have like an enormous lead, but then give it up. I know. USC stole a bunch of players from Arizona. Kyron Barrs, the defensive tackle, Christian Roland Wallace, the cornerback, Dorian Singer, the wide receiver. My prediction is that Arizona's going to go after them. Like something bad's going to happen.
Violence.
Yeah, like Arizona. Well, or just like they'll try to limit their play in some way, but it'll get personal.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. Also, Lincoln Riley is going to whip out a melt the clock hand gesture that puts Jonathan Smith's to shame. That'll be PG. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. Quack, quack.
Quack, quack.